I've been working on this website for a while now, and it's at a place where I feel comfortable sharing it. So I thought I'd make a short video introducing the site, give you a quick walkthrough, and show you what is currently in development as well as future plans. So just a quick disclaimer before I start walking through this site. So I am the only one involved with this site. I built it from the ground up. It is 100% funded by me, which means that the amount of money and resources I have for quality assurance is low. And by low, I mean it doesn't exist. So when you go through this site, there might be mistakes. I tried my best to check and verify that everything was accurate, but I just wanted everyone to be aware that there may be mistakes on here. Please double check sources, and if you find anything, just let me know. So my ultimate goal here is to create a fully interactive 3D map of Marine Corps history. This is the start of that. There's a couple of things about this website that makes it unique. One is that a lot of the data being provided is powered by AI. So this website has its own AI model and its own data set of information where it's retrieving that information from. So I built it on my home computer and I designed it to be a standalone system. So this means very little to most of you, and it won't have any impact on the site itself. But what it does mean is that this can be used for any type of data set, any collection of data that you want to visualize, and it could be used in any closed environment. So meaning that it doesn't need access to the internet to function. Now, the one you're looking at now obviously is connected to the internet, or else you wouldn't have access to it. But the data is processed on the system itself. So it's trained on close to 800 primary and respected secondary sources related to Marine Corps history. So all this data is collected from those sources. It is not pulled from blogs or other random sites on the internet. It is directly from Marine Corps sources. Now, each one of these dots represents some type of engagement, humanitarian mission, expedition, something that the Marine Corps has been involved in during the past 250 years. If you hover over these dots, a pop-up will be displayed that shows the battle, the war, the start year, so the year that the event took place, and the location of the event. The map could be manipulated. You can move it back and forth. If you do not like the dark version, you have a couple of other options here. If you want it to be a little bit more bright, you have the light version. If you want a more realistic feel, there's a satellite version. Right now, I'm currently using Mapbox because it's free. So I'm on a budget here. Mapbox provides a free service, but I'm playing around with other mapping tools and overlays on my dev build that provides a little bit more detail, right? I'm going to change back to the dark here just because it's easy on the eyes. But you could zoom in here. The maps that I'm building has terrain features. It has an overlay where I will eventually have animated features showing battle progressions. So you could see the Marine Corps units progress in battle going through their different objectives. So if you zoom in here, most of these locations are fairly accurate. There's some that are off. The War of 1812, for some reason, it doesn't display correctly. Those battles are all over the place. But here you can manipulate the map. So you could zoom in to get a better view. You could rotate the map, change the angle here, and do whatever you want to get a better idea of what the terrain looked like. If you want to go back to the default, there's a reset map button here. Now, clicking into each one of these dots gives you more information. When you click on a dot, a pop-up will come up that has the war. It has the battle. They should be pretty close to accurate. If you see anything that's glaringly wrong, please let me know. There's these report buttons that are sprinkled all over the site. If you click into one, you could just select a reason, right? Everything from bugs, feature requests. So if you have an idea for that would make the site better, go ahead and provide your recommendation. If there's performance issues, inaccurate content, or just something else, you could go ahead and click your reason, click submit, and I'll try to figure it out from there. If you have the time to write a brief explanation on what's wrong, I would appreciate it. It'll help me get to it faster. So this option is available if you want to provide some type of feedback. Not all of these pop-ups will have an image. I need to go through each one and verify that the image is public domain. That's a lot of manual work, so it's going to be a while before I could populate it. So I think I'm going to take this image out before I release it, but they don't look much different. So if you pop them up, it'll just be without the image there. Description is pretty self-explanatory. It's just a quick description of the actual event. It's truncated here just to save space, but if you click continue reading, it'll expand it. Click it again just to minimize it. This is generated by AI, so if there are any issues, please let me know. I went through all of them. They seem pretty good. I didn't catch anything that was off. I corrected what was off, but I might have missed some stuff. So if you notice anything, please let me know. So you have the option to listen to episodes about this war. So the way the episodes are filtered is through war. So whatever war is applicable to the pop-up you selected, the wars will be displayed there. So in the future, these will be filtered by battle, but I'm not there yet. So that's more of a manual process. I have to go through the episodes and identify which battles are being discussed. That will come at a later date. But for now, you could filter by war. I want to eventually turn this into an app. We're almost there, actually. So I have a beta version that I'm playing around with. But you have the option to listen in 3 areas. If you're on an iPhone or use Apple Podcasts, you could click on that and our episode will pop up. If you are a Spotify listener, you could click the Spotify button and the Spotify one will pop up. There's also an option to listen on the site itself. So if you still want to play around with the site, you could click listen here and an episode will pop up down below. Hit play, minimize it and carry on, right? And when you're tired of listening to my voice, just click that little X button there and the website will go away. So Ask the Scribe will not be released. I'll gray this out. So this is one part of the AI function option, right? So each pop-up will have an Ask the Scribe. This is meant to be a short interaction, a brief interaction with AI to give you more information on the battle itself. So this is tied into data directly related to whatever pop-up that you're viewing at the time. And you could ask it more detailed questions about the battle itself. It's meant to provide more accurate and specific data about these specific events. But we're not there yet. So the reason why I am not releasing it with this version is because AI is expensive. So being a standalone system, the AI processes the information internally. The way that most of these AI services work is that they're tied into an existing AI somewhere, right? So like ChatGPT. That's how most of these services work. But I built this as a standalone system, so all the information gets processed on the server itself. There's a lot of benefits to that, and it cuts down cost because each one of those transactions, so every time you reach out and ask a question, it costs money. So in the future, as I build this out more, I'm not limited by the cost of each of these transactions. So if you want to spend hours on here talking about Marine Corps history, you can, and it's not gonna cost an arm and a leg for me to process that information. Everything gets processed internally. But the downside is that it requires a pretty robust infrastructure. So the server that I'm currently using is not strong enough to make AI efficient. And I'll show you as we get into the development model how slow it is. So it could provide results to me, but those results take a while, anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes to get a result back. That's not ideal for a website, and that's only with me using it. So if there are multiple people using the AI model at the same time, that will be a big bottleneck. So I'm limiting this until I get the funds needed to push it out, but the logic and the functionality is there. But the second reason is that lack of a powerful server means my testing is limited. So as we'll see in the development build, the answers are okay. They're pretty good, but sometimes there's inaccuracies. Sometimes it drags on. I want to fine tune those answers and fine tune those responses. And I need access to a more powerful server before I could get any legitimate testing done. But this is just a quick explanation of these pop-ups themselves. Every event has one. You could go ahead and click through and play around with them for yourself. So the menu here on the left is how you interact with each one of these dots, right? How you filter them out. It's pretty self-explanatory. You have a little hamburger menu toggle switch here, clicking on and off to expand and collapse the menu. You have another report button here. So if you have any issues of the menu itself, you don't have to find a report button. You just click there, select your reason, and submit it. For the engagement type, I have 3 types listed here: combat, support, and relief. If you click this information button here, it'll give you a brief explanation of my reasoning of categorizing them in each of these engagement types. I'm open to suggestions. It's pretty difficult to sum up everything the Marine Corps has done in 3 different sections or 3 different categories. So if you have a better idea on how to categorize these, please let me know. But that's what I came up with, right? I'm not tied to it. Any suggestions will be welcomed. But combat. So these are what you think of when you hear the Marine Corps, combat missions. There's obviously going to be more of those than the other 2. It's interesting to see how they're sprinkled out here, which is pretty fascinating, just to get a visualization on how the Marine Corps activity within the past 250 years. Support, same thing. The orange ones, these look a little yellow. They're supposed to be orange. And the reliefs, the blue. Now the engagement types can be filtered a little bit. You could get a little bit more granular on your filters. Again, not all of these are wars. Not all of these are battles. It's just a lack of a better term. So if you have a better naming convention I could use for that, let me know. But these get filtered out as well. So if you click support, only the support ones are there. Same thing with relief, only the relevant ones are there. For combat, if you want to take a look at the Banana Wars, you could see what area the Marine Corps was involved in during that time. Same thing with battles. So if you want to limit it to 1, you could do that as well. Filters are displayed in a few areas. This needs to be updated with the battle name. It's just a number for now. But each one of these categories, if you have this thing closed and you're playing around with this and you want to get rid of the battles, you click that and they all pop up. Click out the wars. The podcast episodes, similar to each one of the modals, they are filtered by war. So you have, let me break this down. You have Beyond the Battlefield. These are events that aren't necessarily tied to any engagement or any war. They're more broader topics. Colonial America, what we did before the American Revolution. There's one on Archibald Henderson, a few on the Gilded Age, women in the Corps, the interwar period between the World Wars, and marine aviation. So the Gilded Age is always an interesting time. A lot of how the Marine Corps grew was during here. But these are filtered by engagements as well. So if you wanted to learn about the Boxer Rebellion, we have Boxer Rebellion episodes here, or Boxer Rebellion episode. You can see what the Marine Corps did during the Quasi-War. Or if you wanted to move down to like World War I, you could check that out as well. Now, for those of you who are new here and haven't listened to the podcast, we are only up to World War II. So more of the modern wars will not be displayed. So if you want to learn about Vietnam, there are no episodes for Vietnam. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. If you're feeling generous and you like what you're seeing here, you could click the support us button, buy me a coffee, throw a few ducats my way. Every single dollar that I make or that is donated is going into the site. So it's going to go into more accurate information, more resources for a more powerful server, creation of maps, more development. So every single penny is going into this site. And that's essentially it from the menu, clear filters. So there's another way to do it. So if you have a few items selected here, you could just click clear filters and it'll reset it back to normal. So this AI, actually, let's move on to the development build. I'll show you the future use, what I'm planning on, what the development site looks like now, and what I'm planning for the future. So as you can see, there's more filters here. What you're going to see when you first log on is not actually that. Give me 1 second. So what you're going to see when you first log on is this. So it's just a pop-up banner letting you know that this is a beta site. I just want everyone to understand that there might be information on here that's inaccurate. So please keep that in mind when you're visiting the site. As far as privacy is concerned, we do collect some information. None of it's PII. So none of it's personal information. All of it's anonymous. All of it's encrypted. And it's more about functionality. So how you interact with the page, your device characteristics, operating system, screen resolution, things like that. So if there's a problem with the site, I could see if it's a tech problem or if it's another problem. So it just helps me troubleshoot and make the experience a little bit better for everyone. In order to use this site, you will need to accept it. So there's bullets here that you need to accept and acknowledge before you enter the site. I also have links to the terms of use and the privacy policy if you want to read them as well. But you do have to click this and you have to accept it before you go in. This is the site that I have in development. As you could see, there's a few more options here on the sidebar, a few more filters. They work pretty much the same way. I have the year filter here where you could filter by year. So say you wanted to look at battles between 1843 and 1943 or 1931. You could take a look at Marine Corps engagements during that time period. I have a couple of functionality issues. So for example, if I select a conflict that is not within this range, so if say I select the American Revolution, the site will crash. I'd say it's 99% complete. I just need to fix that one issue. For the unit, same thing. So my plan is to filter down to the company level. There's a few challenges I'm facing with this. The first is how to categorize it. So in the back end, just to give you guys a peek behind the curtain, I need to have a unique value for each of these. I mean, the division and regiment are pretty easy, right? You could get unique values for those. Where I run into problems are battalion and company. So there are a lot of 1st battalions and there are a hell of a lot more alpha companies. So it's difficult to create unique values with that information. I'm trying to figure out how to tie each one of these to make it more user-friendly and also so it's filterable based on your selections with other filters. The 5th Marine Division wasn't around during the American Revolution, so we don't want 5th Marine Division results to pop up when the American Revolution is selected. I also have an issue with others. The Marine Corps didn't always have divisions or regiments per se. During the early years, the Marine Corps, a lot of times the Marine Corps units get recognized by the Marine detachment from the USS Constitution or something like that. So identifying those other units and trying to make it fit in all this is pretty challenging. But like I said, the logic's there. I just need to do a little bit more thinking on my end on how to make it work. Medals of Honor. This one I'm playing around with as well. It's about 90% there, right? I don't like the way it's currently displayed. I think I'm going to get rid of the battle dots when that check mark is checked. But same thing. Some of these locations are off too. Like this one right here. Yeah, the conflict was the Vietnam War. So I got to figure out what's wrong with this logic, why some of them works, why some of them don't. Make the pop-ups a little bit more appealing. And just play around with that a little bit more. I think it's just too cluttered now. But this one, 95% there, right? Just got to figure it. Just need to make these dots disappear when that's selected and work on the location a bit. This is the AI portion of the website. I think this is going to be the bread and butter. At least that's how I'm picturing it. I have a lot of plans for how AI is going to interact with the map itself. For now, it's just a chatbot, essentially. It pulls its information from verified sources. It does a pretty good job. So as I mentioned earlier, I haven't had that much opportunity to train it and to play around with the responses more. So it's not to where I would like it to be, but we're getting there. Every time you close this and open it or refresh the page, you get a new question here. If none of these are doing it for you, you could write in your own question, right? But if you do like this, you can just click send and it'll go ahead and start the conversation. It just looks like a regular the text message block. But I'll leave this up, let the time go by, fast forward it for you guys so you don't have to wait in real time and show you how long it takes. So as you can see, it took some time to come back with an answer here, but the answer is pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty accurate, so it's not too bad. The issue here is that this ending it cuts off pretty bluntly, so I need to work on that, but it's just not quite there yet. So I'm getting there, but you could ask follow-up questions and have a full conversation with the scribe when this thing is ready. I also want this to be more interactive with the map. So as this website grows, I want there to be more interaction within the scribe and how you interact with the website. So there's a couple of things that I want this to be able to do. One, I want it to be able to compare battles. So if you want to compare the amphibious landing at Guadalcanal and compare it to how the Marines landed in Korea, you could review that, take a look at the challenges of each one, see the similarities and the differences, and understand the struggles. I also want it to take a look at the progression or adaptation of Marine activity during individual wars themselves. So, for example, World War II, probably one of the best examples of that, the struggles Marines faced at Guadalcanal, everywhere from the harsh terrain and climate to logistical challenges, and just how they improved throughout the island hopping campaign, right? So, for example, just their pre-invasion bombardment tactics, their naval and airstrikes, how they improved close air support, right? That was a big one. New technologies that were used, like napalm, and even things like logistical solutions as far as palletized cargo. So using pallets to unload and offload supplies, specialized landing parties, better shore logistics, things like that. So you'll be able to get pretty deep in how Marines adapted and overcame each one of these challenges. And it's not necessarily only for World War II. This applies to essentially all of them, right? Every battle the Marine Corps has faced, it always starts off rough. Every single one of these battles starts off rough, and they learn to adapt and overcome. I would also like to create some type of like YouTube shorts. So you could type in what you want to see, right? Show me the Battle of Guadalcanal, and it'll provide a short 2 to 5 minute video of Marine progression through Guadalcanal. The video isn't quite there yet. It's chunky. It just doesn't work right? But I'm assuming as AI progresses, this will be easier to manage. So this is kind of built in the back end. I'm working on it as I go. As I said before, I'm turning this into an app, and I also want to add augmented reality to it as well. So say you are in one of those locations, you have your phone on you, you could use your phone to see the path that Marines took during these battles. This one, I'm going back and forth on this one, on how to implement it. I was initially thinking of kind of like a trail map. So you could have this on your phone and walk the trails that Marines fought in. But a lot of these places, there are still some unexploded ordnance. So I don't think that'll be a great idea. So I'm trying to figure out how to implement this without causing any potential safety issues. That's pretty much it. This site is still growing. More data, more tools are coming soon. If you want to support it or help fund future work, please check out the links below. You could support us through these support us buttons here. That'll help out greatly. If you'd like to sponsor the site or the podcast itself, please reach out to us on the podcast. Any help would be appreciated. But that's pretty much it. So I welcome any advice, any suggestions. The site is up, so play around with it and let me know your thoughts.